Hello and welcome to Mostly Minnesota Music Podcast Edition. I'm Ann Tracy. I'm here with my co-host,
Heather Baker.
and we are here with Shaun Johnson. Welcome.
Oh, thank you for having me on your show.
I'm excited. I find your music to be so fresh in the most retro way. You are big band, crooner, mash up a little bit with pop, but the music is so much fun to listen to.
Thank you very much. I have always loved big band, but I did want to work in sort of the singer-songwriter angle and fit in all of sort of the things that I think influenced me growing up, which so many people do. So some people are like, this isn't a really traditional big band. And I think, no, it does have its roots in it. Its arrangements, I hope the emotive sort of style, but in general, I do try to bring in sorts of myriad of influences and mash them all together, as you said.
It's funny because when I listen to it, I can't help but think of like Donny Osmond, who obviously is not big band, but that's what I grew up with.
Oh, well,
and I kind of remember the cool shows, and he had the sort of thing. And then sometimes when I listen, I think, oh my God, that sounds like Magnetic Fields, which again is not at all. Well, there is just something so familiar about the music as you listen to it.
Well, that's a very nice thing to say. And actually, one of the things I shoot for in writing songs is to get songs that you maybe think you've heard before. I tend to write sort of simple songs. They're probably not as poetic as most or as I'd like, and maybe not very complex. But for me, I'm like, I hope they have a universal message. And some of my sort of biggest compliments have been people saying, oh, I've always loved this song, even though I just wrote it. Or, it's like, I know you didn't write that. And I'm like, oh, I did. So if that's the road you're going down, I'll take it. I appreciate that.
I could see, yeah, that would be a great compliment. It was funny. I'm going to shift gears on you a little bit because I hopped right into how much we love the music. Can I ask you you have an amazing story. I mean, you have an amazing bio. You've won Emmys. You've played for, I believe, the Republican and Democratic National Convention. Wow. Because I just want to ask you, just tell us a little bit about yourself and your background. I'm interested to see what you choose of such a wealth.
Well, I was never going to be a singer. I was going to be a lawyer. I actually quit law school to sing. And growing up, I thought I was way too cool, even though I know I wasn't at all. But I thought I was. And I actually had a very instrumental vocal coach who said at the time, you're going to sing a song. You're going to sing a verse of God Rest You Merry Gentlemen in high school. And I would say because of that, it started me on a path to music. But when I got to college, I thought, well, what are you ever going to do with music? There's no future in it. And that's why I decided to go to law school. But I had some friends who said, hey, I know you like to sing. I know you want to sing. Would you ever consider being in an a cappella group? And that's how I started in a group called Tonic Sulfa. And we gave ourselves 2 years and said, look, if we're still eating ramen noodles at the end of 2 years, we're done. But if we can make enough success to, rent an apartment and feed ourselves, we'll keep going. And now I'm still doing that all of these years later. It's my day job. But the big band, I started just a couple of years ago for charity. So I think I've always loved singing, and I've always been inspired by so many different types of singers and vocalists. But big band has had something special. I know it was way before any of us were born, but I just like the horns. I like the emotion. I just like the arrangements. And even though, like I said, some of these songs might not be Frank Sinatra or Ella Fitzgerald, I hope that you can find something in it that is, like you can see where I pulled that from. So it has been interesting with 1 foot in a cappella, which has no instruments, of course, and 1 foot in big band, which is like every instrument we can fit on stage. And we actually do a lot of shows with orchestras too. So then you're at 80 instruments. And some of the shows are combined. So I open for myself and I'll sing a cappella for an hour, and then we turn around and sing with the big band. So it's been incredible. I feel like the big band has fed me when I was sort of getting tired of singing a cappella, and it refreshed both, I think.
I like the fact that the big band, it feels like a formal event, even in the sound. Like it feels special, like you have to dress up and more of a, just an event while you're listening rather than you're up on the stage with ripped jeans and t-shirt type of thing. And I like both, but it has this polished, entertaining quality to it.
Well, thank you. And that's definitely one of the things I think people associate with big band, and I do love, because the style of big band, and that comes down to even your clothing and how it's presented, is definitely part of it. So yeah, that's an interesting piece too, because we'll do, a state fair with Tonic Solfa, which is fantastic. And then we'll go to Orchestra Hall, right? And sing with the big band. And so that has been an amazing challenge. It's why I started the big band, obviously to raise money for charity, but the other thing was to have experiences. So you nailed it on the head in that, because I wanted to have different experiences and sing in different places and try, I think, something that maybe is more me. I'm not saying a cappella isn't, but definitely big band was something I always wanted to do. So I think you nailed it on the head. The style is such an important component.
To use a very Minnesotan example, all summer we think, oh, I miss winter. Oh, winter. You think the perfect would be to have a summer day, a winter day. You live kind of a summer day, winter day, kind of a
True.
work life. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's very true. I hadn't actually thought of it that way. And now that you say it, and I don't really like winter. So which of these bands I gotta get rid of? I don't know.
That's that. Well, I'm not sure how you can live. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of winter, but I do know I wish for summer come winter. Now you've got an album coming out on Friday, September 17th, For Her.
Yes.
And I think so many of those songs are so tender, but just tell us a little bit about who Her is, who the Hers are.
Yeah, absolutely. I was in the pandemic, like so many people, trying to figure out what I should do. We have about 150 shows a year on average, and we went to 0. And that was in 2020 in March, like everybody. And so I thought, boy, I've never really had a chance to write in all those shows. That kind of takes a back seat. I have written originals, we sing originals, but I've never had such a chance to sit down every morning. It was such an honor. And write and work with all these musicians from across the country that I wanted to, but usually are too busy. And so we did this entire album. I was just writing songs. Actually, I wasn't trying to write an album. And I realized there's like a lullaby, and there's like a jazz, and there's like a big band, and there's like almost country tinged. And I thought none of them really have anything to do with each other. I'm actually writing another album that's all upbeat that comes out next spring. So this one is kind of like I said, it's all over the map. But I did realize why the album was called Made for Her. I did realize is that, I don't even know if I pointed it out or my wife pointed it out, but she's like, every one of these songs has to do with a woman who is influential in your life. They have to do with my sister. There's a song called Losing You because she lost her husband, and I wrote it for her. There's a song called All Because of You, which I wrote about my wife. I'm trying to write a million love songs, and they're all cheesy. I finally found one that I could play her and not be embarrassed, and that's on the album. I was at a women's choir, and they were so inspirational to me. I wrote a song because they said, well, people told us we can't sing. And so I wrote a song for them called Sing Me Anything. And every single song had that component. And in my life, I had 5 great aunts. I didn't know any of my uncles. I only knew my 2 grandmothers. I have 2 sisters. Every one of them has daughters. I have 3 daughters. I am completely, it's only me. And our new puppy is a male. So I guess that's the other thing, a puppy. But so it's called Made for Her because of that underlying component to each of those songs, even though they're very different. I thought that thread might connect it if you're an album listener.
I was going to say, I like the Losing You lyrics, at green lights and I'm not moving, every night is leaving scars. Am I right?
Yes.
I like the fact that you wrote it about all these different women, because I was like, ooh, the one sounded like Peter Pan, like all these things. And I was like, where is this going? And I love the fact that it's all these different women. But I really, now that song's even more tender to me, the one Losing You.
Well, thank you. And that song, I had a melody that I really liked And my sister, her name's Courtney, her husband died early in the last year. And she called one night and said, without getting too maudlin, but she called and said, man, I don't know what to do. Like, I cannot move. Like, I don't even know what to do. I can't get out of my room. I can't. She goes, I drove my car. And that line, because she said, I was at a green light and everyone's honking. And I couldn't put my foot on the accelerator. I just sat there, cried, everyone's honking. And so that line started that song. So when you say you like that line, that really means a lot to me, because that was the line then that kicked off that song. And again, I wasn't trying to be cheesy, and this is all about, I was trying to write it a little more universally, because I don't want to get into where it's like every song just, affects me. But it is, I couldn't, it was so hard to sing it. And just like I said, that's for my sister, because she's so strong. And I hope that anybody that goes through that could get something from it. Not even a death, but just of losing anything. And so for her, I just don't know anyone who she kept going. She took care of her daughters. She changed careers. And even though she said, she's so empty, and she's still fighting through that. So I'm like, that was for her. So I really appreciate that. I will tell her that the song other people can relate to.
Definitely. It's just that helplessness feeling that everybody has had recently, and more so there, that it's so connected. So just, yeah. Thank you for that song. And those lyrics, really spoke loudly to me and probably many others. Yeah.
Thank you. That's very kind.
Well, and I'll shift gears and say it's that Sing Me Anything. I just enjoyed that one so much. Funny, I didn't realize that it had been written for a women's chorus. I mean, I think that's
well, and it's for everybody. I think when I go to teach master classes, mostly at high schools, some colleges, it is amazing how many people say I can't sing, or I'm just in the choir because I don't, or I had a teacher that told me I couldn't sing. And I always think of well, my wife, in some ways, she also part of that inspiration, because she's always like, I don't sing, I can't sing. But whenever she sings to softly, to like she doesn't know anyone's hearing her, or sings to like our 5-year-old, it is just, and I'm sure everyone can relate to this, it is the sweetest sound in the world. So in some ways, that song is like, hey, sing me anything. It's gonna be good. Like, it's gonna be all right. Like, for me, that music is everything. So it's for a women's choir, yes, because so many people have told me that. But it's for anybody who's like, oh, I can't sing. It's like, oh man, sing me anything, because I might be the person that song is everything to me. When she sings that to me, I calm down. I can. It's like a peace. So anyway, that song, though it's very upbeat, it all has to do with just that idea of like, oh, sing me anything. I don't care what you're singing or who you are. If you think you're good or bad or whatever, just sing anyway.
well, and I'm one of the, and I would say I don't sing. I was someone who told where I went to school, we were taught that singing was like praying twice, only maybe not for everybody. Tracy girls, and really the nuns would say, you don't have to be so loud, and then what's so funny is really the only time that I also have $3, and the only time that I think I sing a lot is you sing for your kids, because they don't know them any better.
Well, you know what, though, literally, I don't believe you. I think you're a great singer, because everybody I know who's like, oh, I'm not a very good singer, half the time, like when you're in the studio, then they go sing, or you hear them and they're incredible. And the person who's like, I'm all that, I sing for a living, usually that's the person I'm like, oh my gosh. So I don't know if I trust you. You might be a diva. We just don't,
No, Heather knows I have some stories about my sister and I, and our voices are but it's okay. But the thing about it is that it's my voice is maybe not for everybody. And I think that women especially need to know, even if my voice isn't for everybody, it's going to be for somebody.
Yeah. Hey, I sing for myself all the time.
Well, and I think here, that's what I like so much about that song, is it's like, well, yeah, somebody would like my voice.
Yeah.
I don't need to be up on stage, but yeah, It's in my
Yeah, I
places.
like it.
It's yeah.
I also like about that song, the guy that played piano on it is a guy named Cody Fry. And I don't know if you know who he is, but I think he was like on American Idol or something. I don't even know. But what I really liked about him is that he's a fantastic songwriter in Nashville. And some of my favorite songs that we have listened to over the years have been his. So when he
Oh
said,
wow.
I'll play piano on it with the producer that I was working with, I was like, every time I hear the piano on the beginning of that song, I'm like, oh, it's Cody Fry.
That must be exciting. That's a
Yeah. And it's a big band song, which I always wanted to sort of write a more traditional big band song, and it very much is. It has the slow beginning, and then it comes in with all the horns, and it's
the
kind of I hope, a catchy melody, and so I think the album kicks off in a big band way, even if I somehow depart and come back to it here and there.
no. And when the horns come out, stop.
Yeah.
That is when you're like, oh yeah, I like
But don't tell
horns.
the horn players; they'll have big enough heads. I don't need to share this with them. Hopefully they're not watching.
That's awesome.
How did you collect all the people that are in the big band with you here?
I'd always wanted to do this. I met a guy. I was just searching online, like big bands in the Midwest and people who played, and I had some recommendations from studio guys, and said, go check out this girl or check out this guy. And so I went to all these different clubs, and so it was kind of a really long roundabout story. And when I first started, everyone was like, who is this guy and what does he want to do? And I actually did invite them. I mentioned Orchestra Hall earlier. I invited all of them to an Orchestra Hall show. And then afterwards, they're like, oh, maybe this isn't going to be too bad. And so we had a rehearsal, and it's the same guys. We have a few, because I take so many shows. Sometimes you can't do all the shows. We definitely have an A and a B kind of who will back up in case the A's can't come. I don't mean because they're better or worse. I just mean, the guys I originally started with and the women I originally started with. So it's been a mixture. And sometimes we're on the West Coast or East Coast or somewhere else, we'll pick up a few different people, but the core is always the same. And one of those guys at our first show, because when we had rehearsals, we didn't have a microphone, so nobody ever heard me sing. I was kind of singing in my head and trying to remember all the songs. We did the first show at the, I think it was the Orpheum Theater in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, actually. We did the show, and the trumpet player leaned over to the trombone player. I heard about this later. This guy's not half bad. So I thought it was high praise, because they're like, well, we didn't hear you sing at all during the rehearsal. So we're like, what are we getting into? So since then, though, we've been all over and done hundreds of shows. So I think they're okay with me now.
Yeah. That's a leap of faith, though.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I did pay them, let's be.
Yeah, it's fair.
In Skittles.
Another song that I really like from the album is "This Old Man."
Yes.
And the idea of never grow up. It's.
Yeah, I wrote that because my youngest, her name's Serafina. We call her Fina. Every night I tell her a story or sing her a song or act out with animals, and one night I heard a lullaby. And it's the one, I think it's even called This Old Man. It's like, da, 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 and I was listening to the arrangement of it on this, whatever, an app that plays for 11 hours while they're sleeping, or, and I thought, wow, that would make a good song. So I took that melody and repeated it over and over in my home studio. And I sang This Old Man, which became This Old Man, over it. And then I took it all away, all of the, the lullaby, and put other music and another arrangement. But if you sing that song, you can sing that song, the entire song will fit over the original lullaby. And I wanted to work in This Old Man, because that's what it's called. I wanted to work that in. So there is one lyric. Everyone's like, why didn't you call this song Never Grow Up? But because that's in the choruses. But there's one lyric that says something about, this old man's never going to let go, basically, kind of thing. And so I thought I'd call it that in honor of the lullaby that inspired it, if that all makes sense. I know it's a bit convoluted. And my wife always says to Fina, she's always like, never grow up. Like, you promise you're never going to grow up. And Fina always says, I'm never going to grow up, Mom. I'm never going to grow up. and I'm going to grow up. So she kind of, but so I thought, oh, never grow up. I always think that. And my wife, she filmed the video for it, and she took vacations from all over. We've taken the girls all over the world, depending on the shows and different things. So the whole thing is from Las Vegas and, Paris, and it's all so it's just so moving to me when I see it, for me, because it's like a snapshot of a life thus far. And so, yeah. And again, I had never intended to write a lullaby. I mean, never in a billion years. That's what came out, and then I liked it. And then when I played it for my wife, she cried. So I thought, either this is really horrible, or I should put it on an album. So I did the latter.
I was gonna just say I loved the video for it, and now what a keepsake for your whole family. Mm-hmm. That snapshot of all the time, and the never grow up, but I'm gonna grow up type of thing. But yeah, that's the one that I was like, it sort of has a Peter Pan-y type of thing. So it's interesting to hear the story behind that too.
Yeah, thank you. There's also a woman who wrote a song, and now I'm gonna totally blank on it, but it's about it was a popular song a few years ago, and it's about Peter Pan. And I definitely love that song. My girls always sing that song. And in some ways, there's a part of inspiration from that tune too. It doesn't sound anything like it. Hers wasn't a lullaby, but I loved that song. And now it totally escapes me what even the title is. And I'm not going to sing it for you. I don't feel like, but it's something about Peter Pan. But yeah, so I also really appreciate you guys are listening to these songs. You don't know how many interviews I've done where they're like, okay, well, that's a great album of rock, ukulele tunes. I'm like, okay, thanks a lot.
Thanks. No, as I said, there is something so refreshing about it. It's, left to my own devices, I probably listen to a lot more Husker Du, harder core punk type, but that being said, I listen to a ton of different types of music, but this, I was like, oh, this is a day changer. You're like, this brightens my day. This, and the sentiment in so many of the songs. And I know what you're saying about wanting to make it more universal, but sometimes I think it's the very details that make it universal, because it will remind me of some little detail in my ironically, and my girls are older, I was always like, every year I love you more. Every year I love you more.
Yeah.
I was like, you think I like you at 3, I'm gonna love you at 4.
That's a song. Let's write it together.
Yeah. Well, you can have that you can use it.
Yeah, you say that now until it's 10 million songs, and you're like, well, maybe we part of that.
We'll see.
I was inspired.
But even when this story is different, I'm like, oh yeah,
I understand.
Saying the things to the girls, it's
yes. Yeah. That's like some of my favorite comedians, because they will say something that's so ridiculous. I always remember I think Ellen DeGeneres, who was talking about grabbing toilet paper in like like in a roll, and she's like it's trying to like get into like a pickle jar, but it's like, the last piece of toilet paper in like a rest stop somewhere. I'm like, I don't know why you thought of that or where it came from. I don't even know if I had that same experience, but I totally know what you're talking about. So,
it might have been toothpaste, it might have been something else,
right?
But yeah.
Right? I can picture me doing this. Yeah.
Yes. Unfortunately, yeah. What I want to is you have one song, you have one cover song on the album. How did you choose? How did you make your choice on that one?
Yeah, it's Love Me Tender. Everyone knows I'm a huge fan of Elvis that follows me, and that's not why I put it on there. Our dog is also named Elvis, but I didn't pick that name either. But I put Love Me Tender on there for one reason, and it's because my wife Mary, she said, well, she had a horrible pregnancy. She was like in bed for months at a time, kind of a rare thing that happens, and I won't get into all the medical parts of it. But so she was literally laid up for almost 5 months of the 9, and she would say to me, can you just sing something? Can you just sing something? Can you rub my back? Sing something. And I never knew what to sing because I'm sitting at the edge of her bed, and so I would sing Love Me Tender. And it's such a typical song, and everyone sings it, everyone knows it, So I'd sing Love Me Tender. So she's like, will you please, 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 some album someday, I know you think it's cheesy, I know you don't want to, because a lot of people, I think you'd be like, if I'm gonna do Love Me Tender, I'm gonna bring something new to it. But I just sang it straight. I went into the studio. It's a live track. I just sing it once through, like I was singing it to her. So you kind of get the image. If you know the story, then that's me sitting on the edge of the bed singing this song, and that's the one cover, and it's on there for her. Also part of the Made for Her title. See how I'm wrapping this all up?
Yep.
Well, Shaun, I have to say I love the emotional component that you bring through the music, but through your story of each song too. It's just lovely. Thank you. You are a good human.
Well, you gotta ask different people about that. Get a consensus. You know?
No,
I think that depends on who you talk to.
I think I'm right, but I do like the fact of the love and the tenderness that you offer the women in your life and through the songs too. So thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, if I want to survive in the household, I've got to,
This is true. This is true.
I've got to try to keep up.
Yes. Yes, well, as I said, 3 daughters. I've lived in the house of girl for a lot.
I know we need to, after this is done, we need to actually chat.
I was gonna, yeah, because my youngest is 17. You got it all ahead of you, my friend. hold on to some of the good thoughts you're having now.
Yeah, exactly.
That's, and they must enjoy your music.
You know, I think so. I mean, Fina goes around and says, to everyone, embarrassingly, she's like, my dad's famous. I'm like, no. I've said a million times, Fina, I am nobody. I like singing. It's nothing to do with fame. But she still says it to everybody. And then I have an 11-year-old and a 13. And actually the 13, she wants to hang out at the shows, wants to go to the studio. Because she really likes music and she plays guitar. That's what she wants to do. I've never told her. I've never said anything about music. I want them to do whatever they want. I never like anything. I just like, do what you want to do. I don't care if it's, drawing anime or playing the harp or whatever. And my middle child though, she's the one that's like, I think it's the middle child syndrome or something, but she's just like, you're not cool. Your music's not cool. You've never been, you're never gonna be. And I totally, like I said, I love her for it because she's so witty and so funny. She cracks me up all the time. And she's basically saying what I think. So
it's fair.
I was going to say that's true in Anne's house too.
It's
the middle.
It's all through the eyes.
Yeah. Right? The middle child is crazy. Yeah.
It's good. It's good. They keep us honest. They keep us humble, whether we needed it or not. So they must be excited for the new album to come out on Friday.
They are, and they were all in the unknowingly they were in the video for This Old Man, as you mentioned, but they were also all in the video for Multiplied by 2, which is the last release we did before the album comes out, the last video. And they were all in that, and all wanted to be. So, I didn't force them.
That's cool.
And I really like how that turned out too, because it was just all of us having fun, basically. And my wife shot it, so she wasn't in it as much as we had wanted her to be. But yeah, I'm really proud of that one too.
Nice. I will put them in the notes, but tell folks how they can find you online.
Yeah, if you want to hear about the acapella group, that's tonicsolfa.com. That word means do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. I didn't know that, but tonic and then SOLFA. So tonicsolfa.com. Everything though about the vocal group plus all of this big band stuff is it's my name, which is ShaunJohnsonMusic.com. Shaun, SHAUN. But if you look up Big Band Experience, which is the name of the big band, or my name or Tonic Solfa, it'll all basically come to me. You can find us everywhere: Apple, Amazon, Deezer, TikTok, Walmart, and all the social media channels from Instagram to Facebook and so on and on. And we're always posting about stuff and keeping people informed. And I think every platform is different. So if you want to know more about our story, you can dive as deep as you want.
Nice. That's fantastic. Well, thanks for an enjoyable album. As I said, I was having a busy day, and I listened to it again, and I was like, oh, I'm still
Well,
busy,
thank
but at least I'm doing this while I'm busy.
Well, thank you again, both of you, for having me on your show, for taking the time. Very much appreciated it.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.